In this next section, we'll implement player death, buying a new life, and ending level. This section has a lot of logic bricks. If I stop to explain it too much, we'll never get very far. So trust me on this, follow along, and we'll see what happens. So we're going to start by going to level 1. And because we're going to work with player death and buying new lives, I'm going to hit G and Y to scale back on this axis. I want to set it up so that it's very easy to get 5 coins, because that's going to be how much a life costs. So Alt-D, G, Y, move the mouse. Alt-D, G, Y, move the mouse. Alt-D, G, Y, move the mouse. Alt-D, G, Y. So now I have a run of 5 coins, and now I'm going to change this particular flame to make it kind of more dangerous to us. If I hit that little button and change that to 2, now this just means the hazard message will be sent more frequently than it was previously. Alt-D, G, Y, Alt-D, G, Y. So now we have a run of 5 coins and 3 very dangerous flames. Let's go back to the game. When we play, we should get 5 points very quickly, and then we should, get negative health very quickly. So that'll make things a lot faster, because we're going to run that over and over again in the next 20 minutes, half hour or so as we go through this section. So now we're going to add something that we're at a property sensor. If the health is less than 1, then we're going to send the message player death. Connect that noodle. Okay. Nothing now is listening for player death, so let's add something that will do that. I'm going to scroll with the mouse wheel to get a little bit more room. I'm going to add under File, Import, Images as Planes. I'm going to pick this image of death that I already created. You can see it when I go to Material and turn it shadeless. G to center it, S, and then the mouse to scale it a little bit. And so now we have a nice death image. And now what we need to do is under sensor, add a message that listens for the message player death, and I'll hit tap. The first time it encounters the message player death, what I'm going to want to do is move this image from off screen, and if I do G, Y, and I move it G, Y, and I move it down along the y-axis 3, so that's GY minus 3. Now this image is off screen. Your setup may have a slightly different scale. The point is, from here, you just need to find out G, Y, look in the lower right. You can see, if I moved it down to minus 3, you can see in the lower right corner there, GY minus 3, it's safely off screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a motion actuator. I'm going to call it show. And in order to move from this location back, we're going to do positive 3 along the y-axis. So when we get the message player death, this image is going to move into view. We send the message player death when the health score is less than 1. So what should happen is when we hit the flame and our health goes to negative numbers, we should see that death message appear. And that's what happens. I hit the escape button. Okay, so now under the score option, I'm going to add a sensor message that listens to the message player death. And I'm also going to add a property interval if the score is at an interval between 5 and some random high number. We'll just type a bunch of 9s. what this means is basically if we have at least 5 coins and the player is dead, then I'm going to send a new message that says, offer new life. We'll connect this across here. We want to make sure that both of these conditions are true, so we connect them both to this AND actuator. So if player death is received and there are at least 5 coins, then we're going to send this new message, offer new life. So how do we offer a new life to the player? I'm just going to click down here. I'm going to add a new text object. We'll change the material so that it's nice and visible. Zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Tab to edit this text, and we're going to call it, I'm going to type pay 5 coins for new life question mark Y. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to, here in this text object, I'm going to listen for the message, offer new life, and if I get it, then I'm going to add this motion actuator. We're going to move this guy along the y-axis 3, and this is show. And we will also listen for the Y key. So add keyboard sensor, we'll call that Y. We'll enter the Y key so we know we're looking for that Y key. When that Y key is pressed, and we'll click tap because we only want this to trigger once. When the first time the Y key is tapped, then I'll add the actuator. We want to send a message, buy new life. Now again, nothing is listening for the message buy new life, but we're getting there. Okay, and then after we've answered this question and we've said, yes, we're going to buy new life, then motion actuator, we want to hide this text to get it out of the way. For me, -3 along the y-axis will work. And there we go. So, and for death, I'm going to add a message actuator. I'm going to listen to buy new life. When the message buy new life appears, then we're going to want to hide this message. And we'll do that by going -3 along the z-axis. We'll call that hide. And there we go. All right. So if this works properly, what's going to happen is I'll hit play. I'll pick up my coins. My player will die, and I should get that question, which will disappear when I hit the Y key. So let's see what happens. Yep. And okay. So let's then here in the score actuator or score object, scroll here to get a little more room down here. I'm going to add a message sensor that listens for buy new life. And when that happens, we'll add a property actuator that adds to score -5. And then we'll connect that across. Do score minus equals 5. Again, just giving these bricks meaningful names so that to clean up our screen a bit. This is score is less than or equal to 5. Player death. Buy new life. And now that I've named them reasonably, we can close up those bricks and this screen looks a lot easier to work with. Okay, so let's see. Oh, I changed the property here, but if you remember, I also have to update that property. And let's bring this guy down here so that it's the last item. And so we'll just make sure that after we have added to the property, we also have to update the text display. So, let's see. That looks good. Let's see what happens here. Player dies, we hit Y, and you can see the 5 coins disappeared. We still haven't actually restored the health. And, you know, while we're sitting here waiting for the player to respond, you know, I mean, I can run around and now I've got this message blocking my screen. So what I really want to do is freeze the screen, freeze the scene while we're waiting for the player to respond. And that's actually pretty easily done. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, back here to this death image. Here I'm going to, just naming yet another brick so we can minimize it. Naming another brick so we can minimize it. What I want to do now is I want to send the message suspend scene when we show, or after we receive player death, we want to suspend the scene. So again, nothing is listening to this message, so no one's going to behave, haven't created any behavior yet. Naming yet another logic brick. Minimize that. If you don't like these crossing lines, sometimes it's just kind of, you know, a little bit easier to look at if you adjust things so that there's less crossing. Suspend, got it. Okay, removed a typo there. What we call this brick really doesn't matter, but I noticed the typo and wanted to fix it. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to listen to that message suspend scene and actually suspend a scene. I'm going to click here on our controller, listening for the message suspend scene. And when that message arrives, I'm going to come over here, we'll add the actuator. There is actually an actuator called scene. One of the options is suspend scene. We have to tell it suspend level 1. So now okay. So with these things, again, these bricks named meaningfully. Now, when we do this again, when the player dies, this scene is frozen. I'm moving the mouse, I'm using the space bar, nothing works. That's a better interface. And now we will keep moving along there. I'm going to now listen for the message buy new life, and I'm going to send the message remove scene. So we suspended the scene while we were waiting for the player to make a choice. The player has chosen buy new life, and we want to remove that suspended scene. Then I'm going to listen to the message remove scene. And when I get that message, I'm going to trigger this actuator. There is actually a scene actuator called remove scene level 1. Okay, oops. All right, so we have a message remove 1 and a scene actuator remove 1. They're, they kind of seem to be doing the same thing, but again, when you send a message, something has to listen to that message in order to do anything. So here's one of these things where I'm just going to have to ask you to trust me, because if I explained all this, it would take way too long. But after we send the message remove scene, we listen for the message remove scene, and then we actually remove the scene. So let's demonstrate this. Okay, and now we get a blank screen. Okay, that works just fine. What we'll do now is, again, closing up a couple bricks so that it's more legible to see. And now what I'm going to do is I'll send a message, add level 1. We already have a block that does the adding of the level 1. So we're going to say, after we removed level 1, we want to add it again. So I'm going to listen for the message add level 1, and when I find it, I'm going to reuse this block up here, which added the background scene level 1 again. Okay. 5 coins, a 6th coin. When I die, watch the score there. 6 goes down to 1. Okay? So we didn't actually reset the level from the beginning. We did restart the level, but the score carried over. And that's actually a significant difference if you want to have multiple levels. You don't want to reset the score every time. Anyway, so that works out. You may have noticed, however, that though we've started the level again, we never reset the actual health. So in addition to that, let's make sure that we also restore our health. And we can do that. If you remember, if we come here to health, there's already something listening for the message restore health. That was from clicking that power-up item. So let's go here to the controller, and when we respond to add level 1, let's also send the message restore health. And the method to my madness, the whole reason why I have these messages sent out is that I've already created here in the health object something that's listening for the message restore health. So from here, we're just going to send out that message restore health, and this stuff that I've already coded here will just pick up. We'll kill ourselves, and there we go. Now we're back at 100, and we are able to restore stuff. Now, there's a bug in this, which you wouldn't have noticed, but watch this. If I kill myself over here, I can get Y and restore it, but what if I just come over here, damage myself a little bit, and then I'm just going to tap the Y key? The Y key, every time I tap the Y key, I'm, paying... Oh, look at that. There's even... it's taking 5 points off every time I tap the Y key. So what I need to do is I need to go over here. I need to make it so that this Y key only works under certain conditions. And so I'm going to add a game property to this question text. I'm going to call this active. And we're going to set it to a Boolean. So that means it's just going to be true or false. It's not checked, so by default, it's false. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a property actuator, and I'm going to toggle the property active. And so when we first display that offer new life option, I'm going to toggle this property, which then switches it from the default false to true. And then after I've selected the new life option, I'm going to toggle it again. So what this means is I'm going to go true, false, toggling it back and forth. And then we're going to add a sensor, a property sensor that says if the active property equals true and we press the Y key, then we go through this functionality. So what this means is now I've set it up so that the Y key only works when this property is active. And as this text is displayed and hidden by using this toggle property, we're changing that status. So we'll see what I mean. I'm going to damage myself a little bit. Yes, I'll buy new life. And I press the Y key over and over again. Now it's not working because the text offering to pay new life is not visible anymore. So again, we get 5 points. I should be able to buy a new life, but that will only trigger when I'm dead. Okay, so that was a little bug that I sort of noticed and worked it out. Okay, so that's the end of this section, and we'll move on to winning level, the next section of the video.